Okay, so Sunday was supposed to break him. The networks, they had their headlines locked in. The whispers of collapse were already spreading. And the moment that President Trump's face hit the screen at WWE, the media hit play on their favorite narrative: humiliation, panic, and weakness. But something happened that they didn't prepare for. While they ran with crowd noise and gossip, President Donald J. Trump, the actual president of the United States, he launched a calculated, brutal counterstrike. This is a wave of truth that was so sharp, so undeniable, and so dangerous to their script that they tried to pretend that it never happened, but it didn't work. The blackout failed, and now it's going viral fast. And so what President Trump dropped on Sunday shattered the talking points across CNN, MSNBC, and yes, even some so-called conservative news outlets. Well, we're going to go ahead and talk about foreign peace deals that they refused to report. These are the massive economic shifts that he predicted weeks ago, and revolutionary rebate checks funded by the very tariffs that globalists said would ruin us. Oh, and you're going to hear what they still won't cover about ICE, Gaza, and of course the jobs report bombshell that triggered a meltdown inside the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You're about to see why they needed Trump silenced and what's now impossible to ignore. And this is not just a correction. This is Trump's Sunday strike. And the fallout, it literally just began. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. So let's start with the playbook that the media ran with on Sunday, because it wasn't reporting, it was reputation warfare, really. I mean, first, they were pushing this WWE narrative. Like the moment President Trump's face appeared on the big screen during SummerSlam, headlines exploded. Trump booed by 50,000 fans. Embarrassing moment for the former president. But here's what they did not show you. No real audio analysis, no context, no breakdown of the crowd, no footage from other angles, just a single clip looped out of context, as they always do, pushed on social media by blue check echo chambers who have been waiting for any sign that President Trump is losing his base. Yeah, they didn't verify, they didn't question, because they didn't want to. They wanted visual ammunition to feed the claim that Trump was crumbling under pressure. Then, to make matters worse, they doubled down with the golf narrative. Suddenly, Trump extending his stay at his golf resort became evidence that he was emotionally broken. Okay, as if a sitting president choosing to take an extra day at his own property is all of a sudden somehow proof of a mental collapse. You see what they do here? So no mention that Trump was fielding economic briefings, working behind the scenes on a trade push, or engaging supporters digitally. Guys, they framed it as a man who was running away from booze, not the commander-in-chief preparing a direct-to-the-people truth assault that they couldn't control. And let's be real, had it been Joe Biden, they would have been calling it, oh, it's wellness, or it's self-care, or strategic pause, or sauna day, or whatever the heck they want to call it. You know what I'm saying? So the entire machine, CNN, MSNBC, left-wing influencers, they're all synchronized. The mission framed Sunday as the moment that Trump cracked. But they were all operating off of an old map, because while they were gloating, President Trump, he was about to flip the script. While the media camped out in fantasy land, Trump, he went to war, not with insults, but with information. And not Monday, Sunday, the same day that they were saying that he was hiding. Yeah, I know. You can't even make this up. He posted repeatedly on Truth Social and campaign emails, even through strategic leaks, and every message had one objective: detonate the lies. I mean, he didn't address the booze. Of course not. Because the story didn't even deserve oxygen. He didn't explain the golf trip, because presidents don't owe the press a timestamp on every tee. I mean, instead, he brought attention to what actually mattered: peace negotiations that ended a 31-year war in Africa, nuclear deterrence wins that kept Iran in check, and data manipulation inside the BLS that the media has spent weeks pretending isn't happening. So he reminded Americans what real leadership looks like. And he didn't need CNN or a CNN camera crew to do it. All he needed was the truth and an audience that was tired of being lied to. And so the media, they didn't know how to respond to that. I mean, they had two options, really. They could cover what President Trump posted and then risk oxygen to real accomplishments and economic solutions. Or option two, stay silent and hope nobody noticed. So clearly they chose silence. But it didn't even work because the truth went viral anyway. I mean, you probably saw it yourself. Screenshots, reposts, reactions, even independent journalists and foreign outlets started picking it up. While the corporate media was still debating whether Trump was emotionally well, he was already 10 steps ahead. I mean, he was setting the stage for tariff rebate checks, foreign policy revelations, and an all-out war inside the U.S. government. So now the question becomes, what exactly did Trump reveal? And also, why were they so desperate to bury this, right? So I want to get into that right now. Now, Julie from Kansas, she trusted a broker. It was a local broker, only to learn that she was being charged more to see her doctor. Chapter fixed it and saved her $400 a year. And Francis Lutero told us, he said, we saved $65 every month. Chapter was a big help. These costs, they hide in plain sight and nobody tells you except Chapter. So I'm so happy to be partnered with them, guys. They're licensed advisors, check every plan in your area, and they help you to keep more of your money where it belongs, in your pocket. So look down below on the screen. You'll see their phone number. Give them a call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or hit them up on the web at askchapter.org/Ron and see how much money you're leaving on the table. Ask them, just say, hey, Ron told me to ask you how much money you can save me on my Medicare. And if you have a parent over the age of 65 or anyone you care about, call on their behalf because they probably don't even know. All right. So while the press clung to crowd noise and recycle clips from a wrestling arena, President Trump, he dropped foreign policy bombshells that would have been headline news under any other administration. And yet all we heard was total silence. So let's go ahead and start with a 31-year bloodbath between Congo and Rwanda. There was a brutal conflict that took nearly 7 million lives. Most Americans didn't even know it ended. That's right. Most Americans had no idea. Let me know if you knew that this conflict had ended, guys. But on Sunday, President Trump reminded the world why it did. Because under Trump's leadership during his first term, his administration brokered quiet diplomacy that brought peace to a war zone that the global elite pretended didn't even exist. No photo op, no Nobel nominations, just results. And you're not going to find a single major U.S. news outlet that gave it more than a sentence. Next, you got India and Pakistan, right? Two nuclear powers with decades of tension, constantly one misstep away from global catastrophe. Trump revealed again this weekend how his administration played a decisive role in de-escalating a near-miss standoff during his prior term, and also how those particular relationships are continuing to bear fruit under his second presidency. But of course, nobody wanted to talk about either of those things. Why? Because if they do, then they would have to admit that Trump is not only strategic, but he's a global statesman tier, right? With actual peace deals on his resume, not just slogans. And then, of course, there's Iran. So while the Biden team left behind an absolute disaster in the Middle East, Trump reminded everyone that under his watch, Iran's nuclear ambitions were crippled. No $6 billion pallets of cash, no bowing down to Tehran, just economic pressure, military deterrence, and real results. That's three major international victories, all mentioned or reaffirmed in his Sunday's post. And the corporate media's response? Nothing. No coverage, no analysis, no debate, because acknowledging any of this would essentially unravel their very foundation of their Trump is dangerous and unfit narrative. You see? And so yet the truth still went viral anyway, because Americans shared it. Independent creators echoed it. Millions of voters saw for themselves what the media wouldn't touch. And if Trump had really been the one that was in crisis on Sunday, then why did they pretend that this never happened? Gotta ask yourself that, right? And so now I think it's too late, because the viral moment that they tried to suppress, it's already out, and it's not over yet, because of course I'm going to dive into the most decisive moment on Sunday. This is one that really lit up inboxes across the country and split the country in half. Doge dividend checks, tariff rebate checks, smart stimulus, or is this a political scam? I want to know from you guys, but this is really where the big fight begins. So let's get into what might be probably the most emotionally charged moment of Trump's Sunday strike, the rebate check controversy. Because while the media mocked Trump for everything from his gait to his golf swing, his supporters woke up to something else entirely. An email. Subject line, just one word, sad. But inside, it wasn't about emotion. It was about economics and a bold new push to return wealth to the American people. The email opened with a simple question. Should bonus revenue from tariffs go back to the American people via check? And just like that, the firestorm was reignited. Because if you've been following the story, you already know that this isn't the first time Trump has teased something like this. Just a few months ago, inboxes across America were filled with messages about Doge dividend checks, a populist concept aimed at using clawbacks and tariff gains to issue $5,000 checks to ordinary citizens. The media laughed. They said it was unserious. It was impossible. They said it was a scam. Well, Trump supporters didn't laugh, and they clicked, they shared, they replied, and now it's back. This time it's back with a sharper focus and a different name. Tariff rebate checks, backed not by meme coin momentum, but by real world tariff revenue from Trump's aggressive economic strategy against foreign adversaries. So here's the real genius behind this thing, all right? So Trump's plan doesn't raise taxes. It doesn't rely on Congress. It actually uses tariff revenue already collected from imports, especially from China. And it proposes that it go back to you, the American worker. So instead of just simply being absorbed by bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., Trump wants to send this money back to the American worker. Does that sound fair? Let me know. Just drop a yes or no down below. So now, not to the establishment. That's not where they want that money to go. They want it to go to the American people. But check this out. Critics, most of them from legacy media and the old guard economists, they instantly accused Trump of launching some kind of a con scheme. Can you believe that? I mean, they called it a fundraising trick, a gimmick, a trap for the uneducated worker and the uneducated voter. Give me a break, guys. But this is not what it feels like to the millions of Americans who are watching prices increase, wages stall, and savings disappear, right? So let's ask the real questions. Would you take a $5,000 check if it came from the reclaimed tariff revenue? Yes or no? I think it's a simple question, right? I would take it. Like, who in their right mind wouldn't take a $5,000 tariff check, right? Like, why is it considered generous when Congress bails out Wall Street all the time, but a scam when Trump suggests giving that same money to you? You see, like, it's a double standard. Now, here's the kicker. Nobody in mainstream media is even discussing the mechanics. They're not asking how it would work. They're not questioning the numbers. They're just ridiculous. They're like ridiculing it because Trump's name's on the idea. That is the only reason. If Biden was still president and he was doing it, they would be 100% behind it, which raises an even deeper question. Is this a brilliant populist strategy, a way to return real value to working class Americans without expanding government? Or is it, as critics claim, nothing more than some flashy rhetoric designed to boost email engagement? Well, I think we all know what the media wants you to think, but look a little bit closer because the people are not laughing. They're engaging, they're sharing, they're replying, and they're demanding more. That's really what makes this a real flashpoint, because whether you love it or you question it, you really can't ignore it anymore. And as the truth behind these checks explodes online, there's another controversy that's bubbling beneath the surface. This is one that the Trump administration is fighting head on. The Bureau of Labor Statistics economic data manipulation and Trump's demand for accountability. So you want to see the clearest sign that the media blackout is failing? Just look at the numbers. No, not the ones that are on your screen, okay? I'm talking about the ones that the media doesn't want to explain anymore. You see, under Joe Biden, inflated job reports were treated like gospel. No one questioned the math. No one asked who was working where or whether the numbers were even real jobs. They would throw a number on the screen, 200,000, 300,000 jobs. And the cable hosts, they would celebrate it like it was like a Super Bowl Sunday or something like that. Now, fast forward to August 2025, and President Trump is back in office, and now the narrative has flipped. The jobs report, it showed just 73,000 new jobs. Now, this is a very steep drop from expectations. And what did the media do? They didn't just report it. They accused Trump of sabotaging the data, of firing the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner out of spite, and of waging an authoritarian purge. Let's be clear. The BLS commissioner wasn't targeted because of bad news. He was removed because the inconsistencies were just piling up. Massive revisions, suspicious timing, and patterns that didn't pass the smell test. The Trump administration is demanding transparency, not flattery. So here's the inconvenient truth. Under Joe Biden, job data was routinely revised downward weeks later, sometimes by hundreds of thousands of jobs. But by then, the headlines were already gone. And no one even cared at that point. The cable news segments were already done, and the lies had already been spread. And nobody ever apologized. No one was held accountable. No. So now, when Trump demands clean data, the media calls it dangerous. Dangerous to who exactly, right? Because if you're a working class American who's been gaslit for years by rosy numbers while your paycheck shrank and your rent doubled, it's not dangerous to get the truth. It's freaking necessary. And let's not forget Trump's national economic advisor, Kevin Hassett. He went on air this weekend and he backed the president's concerns. He pointed to the massive downward revisions, the kind of revisions that kind of make you wonder if the numbers were ever real to begin with. Now, think about that, right? The data that the media used to praise Biden is now being exposed, and Trump is getting punished for wanting to fix it. That's not journalism. That's gatekeeping. And this is why Sunday was such a pivotal moment. Trump didn't just challenge the narrative. He proved it was rigged. And now, just like that, the media's Trump panic story fell apart because the real panic, it was coming from the people whose lies are unraveling in real time. But if you thought that double standard was bad, just wait until you hear what the media said about ICE, immigration, and racial profiling under Trump's leadership. So I'm going to tell you right now, it hits at the heart of law, order, sovereignty, and the fight to restore control over our borders. So here's another bomb that the media hoped would quietly just kind of slip past you this weekend. Because if they actually covered it fairly, they would have to admit that President Trump's policies are working. But instead, they want full hysteria. Over the past few days, left-wing outlets, they have been flooding social feeds with claims that Trump's ICE agents are disappearing migrants, conducting racial profiling, and throwing people in these so-called concentration camps. Yes, they actually use those words. But here's what they did not say. They didn't say that illegal border crossings have dropped significantly under Trump's second term enforcement model. They didn't mention that ICE's internal audits showed a massive increase in criminal apprehensions, not innocent families. And they definitely did not report that federal courts are now trying to limit ICE's authority, not because of any proven abuse, but because Trump is finally enforcing the law. In fact, a 3-judge panel from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the most activist benches in the country, blocked parts of ICE's screening practices, arguing that it could lead to profiling. So you got to ask yourself, since when did the law become racial profiling? Like, since when did enforcing immigration standards, the same ones under Obama, Bush, even Clinton, become a human rights crisis? And here's the uncomfortable truth that the media will not touch. It's not about human rights. It's about power. Because Trump's immigration strategy isn't just about keeping criminals out. It's about restoring national control over who enters this country, how they enter, and whether they respect our sovereignty once they're here. And so, to the open border crowd, it's unacceptable. This is why they smear ICE as evil. That's why they paint detention centers as camps. This is why they continue to ignore the victims, the Americans affected by unchecked immigration, overloaded systems, and vanishing accountability. But here is where Sunday gets really explosive. President Trump called this out directly. He challenged the ruling, challenged the narrative, and promising that his administration would not back down on border enforcement. And guess what? The media ignored it. Again, another Sunday truth bomb, another blackout attempt. But it didn't work. It did not work. Screenshots of Trump's statement started flying across Twitter, Telegram, Truth Social, and Americans saw it for themselves. They saw a president who's not afraid to protect his country. They saw a leader who's not backing down from judicial interference. And they saw law enforcement finally being allowed to do its job. So the question is, are these judges protecting civil rights, or are they enabling lawlessness? That's the real question. Is ICE the villain, or is ICE the last line between order and chaos? Now, Trump knows the answer. Millions of Americans do. And now the truth is spreading a little bit too fast to suppress. But there's one final piece to the story, because all of this, the foreign policy wins, the economic data war, the rebate checks, the ICE pushback, all of it blew up on Sunday while the media clung to a WE clip. Why? Because they lost control of the story. So I want to take a step back and let's ask the question that nobody on corporate media will dare touch. If Trump was really the one that was in crisis mode on Sunday, then why is his version of the story the only one that's spreading like wildfire? right? Why are his posts, his policies, and his receipts dominating the conversation while the networks are left with nothing but recycled sound bites and silence? That's because here's what actually happened on Sunday, okay? Listen carefully. Trump took everything that they tried to weaponize against him, the WWE boos, the fake job numbers, the ICE smears, the skepticism over the tariff rebate checks, and he flipped them into flashpoints. And the media, they tried to freeze it. They tried to choke the signal. No roundtables, no panel discussions, no analysis on MSNBC, no facts, no fact checks, no primetime breakdowns. Nothing. They chose silence over confrontation because they knew that they couldn't win the argument. So why have it? But the silence, that's what really broke them. So in 2025, Americans don't rely on the big three networks anymore. I don't know if you noticed. Comment down below if you don't even watch mainstream media news anymore. Let me know, guys. They don't need to wait for a headline. They share what matters. They talk, they post, they clip, they question, and they recirculate what's being buried. And this Sunday, Trump's truth broke containment. It didn't come from the New York Times. It came from you. It came from independent creators like this channel, grassroots voices, and everyday Americans reposting screenshots, linking to policy breakdowns, digging up archive footage, and asking the one question that scares the establishment the most. Why did they cover this? Or more importantly, why didn't they cover this? And once that question goes viral, it's over. The blackout fails, the spin collapses, the people take over, and now we're watching it unfold in real time. Trump's tariff rebate plan, it's trending. His peace deals, they're resurfacing. The ICE court ruling is being dissected in independent platforms with more views than CNN's entire Sunday lineup. It's crazy. And just like that, the gatekeepers have lost the gate. So where does this go next? Well, that depends on one thing. We've walked through everything that they didn't want you to see. A Sunday smear campaign that fell apart by nightfall. A president who didn't retreat. He actually re-engaged. He recalibrated. He retaliated with the truth. Global victories buried by the same media that once gave Biden credit for gas prices dropping just 3 cents. It's crazy. A rebate check strategy mocked by elites, but gaining traction with the people. A data war, an ICE crackdown, and a judicial roadblock, all igniting on the same day. And through it all, Donald J. Trump never blinked. He didn't fold. He didn't beg for the media's approval. He did what great leaders do when the cameras are aimed the other way. He told the truth anyway. And that brings us here to you, because the truth is no longer being buried. It's not a whisper, it's out. And now everybody who sees it has to make a choice. Do you trust the institutions that tried to erase this moment? Or do you stand with the president who put his name, his legacy, and his second term on the line to get the truth to the American people? Because this is really what this is now. This isn't a battle over one Sunday. It's not about crowd noise or emails or tariff checks. It's about control of the narrative, and the media just lost it. So ask yourself this: do you believe what they're not still showing you, right? Or do you believe what you saw for yourself? Because this is no longer a quiet moment in the background. This is the inflection point. This is when the truth really went viral and they couldn't stop it. And so now it's in your hands. So don't just watch. I want you to comment. Tell me what you saw on Sunday. Tell me what you think about the rebate checks, and tell me what they still haven't answered, okay? Because YouTube is already recommending the next video. And if you're seeing this right now, it means that it's part of the story that they're trying to bury next. So click that video, watch that video, and I want you to decide for yourself. Trump struck back and the silence just shattered. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.